Sorry. Yeah, it's kind of a big week. I mean, this is one that you're like kind of circle, at the beginning of the year that you're excited about, like this Thanksgiving tournament. It's very prestigious to be, invited to this tournament. And then obviously the opposition is very, very good. Oregon State, I have the connection with Scott Ruick. He was my assistant for the Pan Am games, and so we have that connection. I know how good of a coach he is. He game plans very well. Caitlin visited there, so there's that connection. Yelena, the 6'9" post, visited here. And so we know her fairly well, and they're a very good team. They haven't been tested like we have. I don't think their opponents have been as good as our opponents have been. They've played always at home, but we do know it's going to be a pro Oregon State crowd. Obviously, they're only about 80 miles away, so they're going to have a good crowd there. So good team, deep team. They go, they come off the bench. Regan Beers coming off the bench at the center. Power forward is very good. And I really don't know anything about Duke or Connecticut yet. I just don't. I haven't dived into that yet.
What's the challenge like facing, their starting center 6'9", and then they bring in a freshman that's 6'2", but also very talented. What's the challenge with the height difference, but two very talented players still?
Yeah, and sometimes they play them together, and so they're really big when they play them together. Regan Beers and Yelena. So today, Coach Jensen was trying to find a step stool so somebody could step on it and try to shoot over top of them. She's legitimate 6'9". And it's hard, I'm just trying to tell the team, you cannot turn and just shoot a jump shot over her. You're going to have to sit across her. You got to be creative with your post moves. You're not going to be able to shoot over her. But we think we can be up tempo against them.
You mentioned it, but this seems to have become one of the glitzier Thanksgiving events pretty quickly. Just what does it mean to kind of, it seems like on the men and the women's side, it's a lot of the top teams in the game are going there. What does that stage, give you guys more of an opportunity to do?
Yeah, I mean, these are the things that you want to do when your program gets national respect. And I think you don't get invited to this tournament unless, you're A, Nike school, and B, a top-ranked Nike school. We're thrilled to be able to represent our university at this tournament. It speaks well for recruiting, and it speaks well, just for where our program is right now.
How does it work as far as how often can you go on can you basically do something every year now? And, how do you kind of pick and choose where you go every year?
So we go someplace every Thanksgiving. The players are not in school all week, and so it's a great time for us to travel. We have already chosen where we're going to go next year. We've been invited to the Florida Gulf Coast Tournament, and that's an MTE, I think I've got those initials right, multiple team event, where you can play 3 games and it only counts as 2. Now you can only do that once every 4 years, playing an MTE event. So we're going to do that next year. What was it? You said when did you pick?
How do you decide on where to go and when?
Yeah. With this one was a no-brainer because, we were invited to go out there, and it's like, oh my goodness, yes, you want to be involved in this tournament. Sometimes it's based on, can we be in a multi-tournament event this year? Since you can only do that once every 4 years, that means that's what the Florida Golf Tournament is. You look at, first of all, we always like to go someplace warm if we can. Everybody likes to get out of Iowa in the winter. We want good competition on a neutral court because that's like beating somebody in the road. It counts more points in the new APR if you can beat somebody on a neutral court, and wouldn't you rather play them on a neutral court than their home court? So it's just, what is the level of your team right now going in? What kind of competition? And I always try to schedule the best competition that I can beat, if that makes sense. I think that's what we're trying to do. And it changes from year to year, right? So, and I'm not saying that, we think we can or cannot beat Oregon, Duke, or Connecticut, because this was a tournament. This was just a prestigious tournament, but that's how our regular non-conference, really goes.
I asked Monica this after the Drake game, even in a situation where you guys have, a veteran roster and roles are established and there's you're not trying to find out a ton about your team at this point. How crucial are these November early season opportunities for this season, even if you have a group that kind of knows the drill now?
Yeah, we do have 5, returners, but, you can see how much time Molly's getting. You can see how much time Hannah's getting. Those are absolutely new pieces to the puzzle. And, we got Taylor was in for 5 minutes yesterday. So we still do have some new pieces that I think are really significant to our success. In our team, we do get better as the season goes on because we're based on a lot of reads and cuts, and sometimes that's just hard to emulate when the team is just scrimmaging in the summertime. They get kind of lazy on some of those reads, but now they're having to do them. So,
is it any challenge at all to keep them from looking at a probable Connecticut matchup and, not focusing right away on Oregon State?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think, again, Caitlin visited there, and so she knows how good that program is. We know they were in a Final Four not that long ago. So those things kind of help, right? And our team is pretty mature and smart that they know they can't do that. Otherwise we're not going to be able to play Connecticut if we do something silly like that.
Looking at Oregon State, I believe they're shooting like 23% from behind the three-point line, but like 60% inside the three-point line. Mm-hmm. Are you going to try to make them beat you from the three-point line before you really get out on them just because they are so good inside the three-point line?
We try to keep everybody out of the paint. That's kind of one of our defensive fundamentals, that we try to keep everybody out of the paint, steer everybody away from the paint, because we know anybody gets in the paint, it's a higher percentage shot. So, yeah, we're definitely going to try to do that. And it's hard when she's 6'9". It's definitely hard.
How many games do you kind of go into a season before you look at statistics before every game, obviously, but how many games do you go in before you go, okay, 23% is their game, or is it's only been 4 games?
Yeah, it's still hard. I think it's still hard just because we just don't have a big enough pool right now of games to choose from. Just like, Kansas State, right? Sarah, what was her name, Sarah?
Sundell.
Mm-hmm.
Sundell was,
Serena,
2 for 9 from three-point range before our game, and then she was 6 for 10 in our game. It's just like, right? Or even, I'll give it Nikki Baird last night, number 23. She hadn't had 2 threes in 2 years, and then she has 2 threes in the first quarter against us, so that might have been an exaggeration, but it's close. It's close.
I think Hannah is 3rd on your team in points per minute and leads the team in rebounds per minute. How would you assess her game at this point, and what does she need to do to get from 13 minutes a game to maybe 20-ish or so?
Yeah, and we need to get her more minutes. We all know that, and we're trying to be creative and thinking how we can do that. My problem is, right now she's backing up the 4 and the 5, and I don't want to give her the 3 as another position to learn, because I think that's really hard for a freshman. So in my mind, it's more McKenna having to learn some 3, and she can do that. She played it in Kansas. I didn't know she was sitting over there. I'm sorry. And she did some at Kansas State. That's the beauty of our offense, is really all 4 of the guards do the same thing except for transition, and that's why I don't want to put Hannah in that, because there is a difference in transition, offense and defense. So McKenna, being a senior, can handle it, and we just have to get some more time getting her at that position. This summer we didn't do that because we didn't know how good Hannah was going to be yet, so we didn't do it.
The Beers girl was a McDonald's All-American, and she struck me as being somewhat like the kid from Algona Garrigan. How do you handle the bulk that she brings?
Yeah, and she's averaging 4 offensive rebounds a game, so we need to box her out. She's shooting 67%, so she's shooting Monica-type numbers. Good player. We went and visited her at her high school, and she's a good player. And You know, we have to make sure we're boxing out because they will go over the back. You know, it's just too tempting not to when you're that big. So, you know, we can draw some fouls on them that way. She's not quite as tall though as, well, Yelena, she's only 6'2", you know, so.
Right, she's just a different
Yeah.
sort of.
She's a different body
animal.
type,
Yeah.
definitely.
Caitlin said in regards to Hannah, I think it was after the first home game and second home game, that the biggest challenge with her is getting her to realize how good she is. I think all of us who have talked to Hannah knows that her personality isn't the most boisterous. What has that been like, you know, early on here, as she clearly has a role and a role that's probably going to get bigger, but, you know, is still new to all this?
Yeah, I mean, she's a competitor though. I mean, she wants to go, she'll go. And yeah, her personality is kind of demure off the side, you know, off the court, and again, kind of giggly a little bit, you know. But when she gets in the game, she's a different person, and that's what you want to be, right? I mean, you just got to bring that out in her, you know. Just like, again, telling her, like, we can see how good she's going to be, and you can just see she kind of gets embarrassed and giggles about it a little bit. She's very humble kid, and you know, we need to keep sticking the bear a little bit for her and get her going.
There have been a lot of really interesting matchups and results so far in women's basketball. Can you sort of put in perspective how much better overall, how much more talent there is in the game?
Yeah, I think we're seeing more parity. We're seeing more upsets. That's a good thing for our game. Especially early, you know, I think you see a lot of upsets early because, again, the statistics aren't quite accurate as much as they should be, and, you know, those type of things. But, you know, you're playing against uncommon people or people that you're not as familiar with. You know, once you get into the Big Ten, you kind of, everybody knows everybody's scouts, everybody knows everybody's strengths and weaknesses, but when you're playing out of conference, you don't always know that opponent as well. And so that, I think, results in a few more upsets as well.
All righty, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, you guys.
Molly, can you talk about defending 11 Wells yesterday?
Yeah, I knew that she was going to be a tough matchup, and we knew that coming in. And so Coach, you know, gave me a few hints of, you know, keep her on the left side of the floor, you know, go the easiest way on ball screens. But we knew she was going to be a big focus on defense, and that was my biggest focus when I came into the game.
How would you say this first stretch has gone, just, you know, being in a new program, being, you know, in new surroundings and everything, you know, now that there's games on the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously been a big adjustment coming from a mid-major to Big Ten, but I knew that coming in, and I think my teammates and coaches have done a really good job of helping me adjust.
Has the system been pretty much what you thought it would be, or have there been any, you know, kinks or anything that have been different than you expected?
No, I think Coach was really upfront and honest with me before when I, you know, made my decision, and so there was nothing really that I was too surprised by.
McKenna, even though this is a veteran team, veteran nucleus, how crucial are these early season, you know, kind of bigger matchups to, you know, set the table for what's ahead this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the teams we've seen so far are very high caliber teams. You know, they're kind of the teams that you see the first rounds of the NCAA tournament. And I think just getting the opportunity to go on the road at Drake, go on the road at Kansas State, you know, it helps build not only the senior leadership, but also the freshmen and the transfer Molly coming in. So, you know, these games up front are super important, but they definitely help later down the road too.
What's your role been as a kind of a nurturer, as a mentor, stuff like that to the younger kids?
Yeah, I mean, I always had amazing leadership growing up. Like my freshman year, sophomore year, any year, always had great seniors, and so I think just trying to maintain that culture that Iowa has and bring it into, you know, our new freshmen and our transfers, and I think just trying to keep that alive. So, how
much did this trip in particular kind of jump out to you when you saw the schedule for this season?
Like for upcoming?
Yeah.
I mean, well, this tournament coming up, the Thanksgiving tournament, is an amazing opportunity. I know, I'm sure Coach Bluder already touched on it, but we haven't been there before. And so that's super exciting. And we're really excited to an honor to even have the ability to go. And I think that's also great to see super early in the season. And I think that can help lead a lot of confidence, and you can learn a lot after this week. So,
What do you know about Oregon State at this point?
yeah, I actually played with Talia a little bit during a summer one time for Adidas, and so I know her pretty well. But they're a great team. They've been to the Final Four recently, like Coach Bluder said. I actually looked at them. I was recruited by them as well, so they're a great team, and I think that they're definitely an NCAA team, and there's a reason that they're at this tournament. So I think it'll be a really good matchup, and I'm excited.
What's different about playing on a neutral court?
It's nice, like what Coach Bluder was talking on, that you're not on their home court, but you also, you don't get that home court advantage also. So I think that's really good for later on the tournament, Big Ten tournament or NCAA tournament. It's a completely different feel. It's up in the air. So I think Oregon State might have a little bit more of a home court advantage than we do, but it's not on their home court. So.
Do you have to sort of generate your own enthusiasm then? I know everybody was talking about how the crowd held a lot yesterday.
Yeah, always your home court's always the best to play on, but I believe in our Hawk fans. I feel like there definitely will still be some out there, and I think that it's also a really good opportunity for our team just to come together and figure it out for ourselves. We play on the road a lot during Big Ten, and Big Ten has great schools with a lot of attendance also. So getting that opportunity to kind of figure it out now is a good opportunity.
How would you assess where this team is 5 games in?
I think we've done great. I mean, we have our core leadership that we've had these past 3 years, and then I think we were adding, some amazing pieces, and Molly, Hannah, our other freshman, Taylor. And so I'm really excited. I think we have a lot to learn, but I think that, our ceiling is through the roof, and I don't think we know how high it could possibly be, but I think just working game by game, seeing where we can go.
For both of you, how can you guys generate a little bit more offensive production to go along with Caitlin, since their opponents seem to be smothering Monica?
Sure. I mean, I think that these, especially since our Kansas game, we've really touched on moving the ball a lot. And I think that when the ball gets stuck, that's when it makes it easy for the defense. And so I think just making sure that we move the ball on offense, I think, can generate some open shots for other people as well. But also when other people get the ball, making sure they take advantage of every opportunity that they get. So.
All righty, guys.